So, main topic of the show tonight has been measure twice, cut once, or why I think Trump, Musk, and Doge will fail. And one of the reasons I think that they'll fail is just simply because of the fact that they are not doing what you should do when you are doing like carpentry or anything else that requires a cut. Measure twice, cut once. Now, I don't care if the cut is cutting in government spending. I don't care if the cut is a piece of wood. I don't care if the cut is the circumcision that the Moyle's doing for a Jewish kid at 8 days old. Whatever the cut is, measure twice and then cut once. Because on that last one, you definitely don't want to cut twice because that would be an oops. But anyway, here is old President Musk talking basically behind the Resolute desk, making Donald Trump look like a weak fool while he's speaking. And there's it's much longer, but we're gonna just play this one for a second and just get to the point that he makes, and we'll then go on as to why I believe that Musk and Doge or whatever will fail in doing their stated goals. And there's a reason that they'll fail based on what they're saying they're trying to do. Even if they were really trying to do what they're saying they're trying to do, there's a reason why it would fail anyway, but then there's the real reason why it would fail, and we'll get to that as well. But first, let's hear what old Musky boy has to say.
We'd have to, if you sorry. At a high level, if you say, what is the goal of Doge and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore democracy. This may seem like, well, aren't we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop, okay, X, we'd have to, if you
Okay, Twitter, shut up.
Sorry. So, I tell you, gravitas can be difficult sometimes. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? They approve all the payments at Treasury, because if you approve all the payments, you don't get complaints. But now we're saying that no, actually we are going to complain if money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay. Your tax.
Well, here's the thing with that. Before we go on to the rest of the video, I mean, sure, on its face, great idea. Make sure that all of the things that are being spent are things that are legal to be spent on, that they should be spending on, everything like that. Sounds great, sounds wonderful, gives the conservatives a whole big soundbite as to, oh, the liberals are opposing it. But here's the thing, when they're just automatically pushing through funding for SpaceX, funding for his companies, then guess what? You're not doing that. You're not doing what you're saying you're going to do. It's just showing you that their intent is different than what they're claiming is. Let's continue this clip, and then we'll
dollars need to be spent wisely on things that matter to the people. I mean, these things.
And not every expenditure is going to matter to every person, but the thing is that they need to be done. Expenditures have to be done legally, yes, but the not spending also has to be done legally. Like when President Biden, when he didn't want to build the border wall, even though Congress appropriated the funds, the courts came in and said, no, President Biden, you may not choose to not spend this money. Congress appropriated the money. It now has to be spent on the things that it was appropriated to be spent on. So therefore, you have to continue building that wall. And this is before his deal that he brokered that Trump, dumped. But just as Biden couldn't do it, Trump shouldn't be able to do it either. They should not be able to sit there and go, oh, well, this is money that's being spent and we don't like it, so we're going to cut it because we can't prove or whatever they're claiming they can't prove. It's still, you can't not spend the money because Congress appropriated the money to be spent a particular way. The only way to stop Congress stop spending that money is to make sure that Congress doesn't appropriate it in the first place. But once they appropriate it and once it's signed into law, you now have to spend the money as Congress said. And if the president doesn't sign the budget, then yeah, the budget's not signed. But you were constrained by what Congress required of you when they passed the budget bill. Let's continue.
Like, it's just common sense. It's not. It's
the only common sense that this administration has is nonsense. That's the only sense that's common in this administration. It's nonsense.
It's not draconian or radical, I think. It's really just saying let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people? And if it is.
And that's the thing. I have no problem if they want to look at all of the expenditures and say, is this a good expenditure? Is this not a good expenditure? But then you have to deal with it in the right way. You have to deal with it in a way that is legal.
It's approved. If it's not, we should think about it. Some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. Well,
and that's the thing. What he was talking about in that part was simply the fact that they were trying to claim that condoms were being sent, like $10 million was being spent on condoms to Hamas because there was something in the expenditure that said that the money was going to Gaza. Well, unfortunately for idiot Musk, Gaza was not the Gaza in the Middle East. It's not the Gaza that Palestinians are living in. It's Gaza in Mozambique. So yes, he got that wrong. And he's going to get many things wrong. I mean, he says he's not going to bat 1,000. I'm sure he's not even above 100. Right? But that's the problem. When you don't measure twice before cutting once, you're going to end up with mistakes like that. There's very important things that our government is doing. And if they stop the payment on those things, it's going to cause more people to die needlessly. Now, we should be used to that under Donald Trump. I mean, you shouldn't ever have to be used to that. But under Donald Trump, during his first term, guess what happened? Hundreds of thousands of Americans needlessly died from COVID-19 because he mismanaged the pandemic. He didn't do enough testing. He fought people getting tested. And at the end of the day, hundreds of thousands of people in this country died needlessly simply because Donald Trump was worried about the optics. Well, in this case, if they're cutting important expenditures and not going to allow them to be spent because they don't like it, or that's one thing. But if they don't even know what it is and they're just cutting without even looking, it's like if you're the Moyle trying to go circumcise the poor 8-day-old kid. And you're sitting there and you're not even looking and you're just like, snip. That's not the way you cut. It's not the way you cut in government either. You need to look and see what the actual expenditure is and then cut from there. So hypothetically speaking, why this is always doomed to fail is because of the simple fact that they are not willing to do the hard work. They're lazy. They're unwilling to do the hard work that's needed to go into the budgets, look at everything in a fine-tooth comb, find the real unnecessary things that we're spending money on, and then have them removed from the budget when the budget gets passed. It's as simple as that. But that's if we give them the benefit of the doubt on face value that what they're really trying to do is increase efficiency, get rid of fraud, waste, and abuse. But if they wanted to get rid of fraud, waste, and abuse, one of the first place they should look is how Donald Trump spent government money, not just when he went to go down to Mar-a-Lago and all the Secret Service agents and everybody else had to have the federal government pay for them to stay at his resort. Therefore, he was making money off of the government. Like, remember, people said something earlier in the chat. Musk has zero salary for being in charge of Doge or whatever. But zero salary doesn't mean you're not making money off of it, especially if he's the one who's in charge of going over and approving or disapproving expenditures, and then he approves the expenditure that gives his own company billions of dollars. So he's still making money, even though he might not be officially drawing a salary. Donald Trump did the same thing. He might have donated his money from his presidential salary in his first term to charity or whatever because he didn't feel like he needed to take it or whatever. But he still used federal funds to put people up at his resorts, either when he went places and then all the other people had to pay to have them stay there because he didn't give them a discounted rate, not one bit. But he even told his other people, like when they were going to Scotland or whatever. They forced them a cargo plane to land at an airfield that wasn't really designed to take such a big airplane because he wanted the government officials to stay at his resort in Scotland and not finding the best and cheapest and most affordable way to spend. If you want to have government be efficient, you don't send people just to go stay at Trump hotels and resorts or whatever. You find the best rate that you can possibly get. That's how you become efficient. If you want to increase government efficiency and stop government fraud, waste, and abuse, you'd stop allowing these politicians from writing in billions of dollars of tanks and planes and jets or whatever for the military that the military doesn't even want. The military doesn't want this crap, but they're still spending the money on it, paying off the military-industrial complex because that's who pays the campaign contributions. And those tanks sit on a parking lot, the planes sit on a tarmac. Nobody uses them, but we built these planes. And then if you say, well, I want to cut these expenditures, why don't you support the military? I do support the military. We should take half the money that's being spent on these unnecessary, unwanted, unneeded planes and tanks or whatever, and take half of it, just cut it from the budget, take the other half of it and spend it on things like veterans pay or military pay, veterans pensions, veterans benefits, mental health care for veterans, etc. That would all work to improve the livelihood and the lives of the people serving in the U.S. military. But what really is being done here, above and beyond the simple, they're not really cutting everything, they're only cutting things that that they don't like. Moving that forward or going on that thought, what they're really doing is just making an enemies list. President Musk and his lackey Donald Trump are sitting there and they're going through finding examples of spending that are being done by their political rivals so they can demonize their political rivals. I guarantee you, if he went and found some unnecessary spending that benefited Trump or benefited Musk or whatever, you know that they are not going to cut that spending, especially if it's to one of Musk's companies. They're going to take the pet projects and the expenditures of the people that they don't like, and then they're going to use that to villainize the people. Musk has even said that he thinks that the people who cut the checks for people who supposedly were being put up in luxury hotels, using FEMA money. But why would I believe that actually was a thing when Elon Musk already has verified to us that he's not going to be bothered to actually worry about checking the facts? He's just going to say whatever he thinks off the top of his head. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It doesn't matter the fact that he got the Gazas mixed up. It doesn't matter that these were for condoms in Africa to fight the spread of the AIDS epidemic. That doesn't matter to him. What matters is they're making a list of political enemies. And they're going to cut those, and they're going to, but because what Musk said about the people and the FEMA money that was supposedly spent in the hotels, again, I have no reason to believe that because he's already lied. And I actually understood the real moral of the story of the boy who cried wolf. Again, the real moral of the story is if you keep telling lies, eventually people are not going to believe you when you're telling the truth. Of course, the conservative version of the boy who cried wolf is if somebody keeps telling lies, you should keep believing them, because what if one day they tell the truth and you need to listen to them? It's dumb. It's stupid. But again, Doge will fail in doing what they're doing. But the conservatives are going to be like, oh, the liberals, they don't want to cut government inefficiencies. If I believe that was legitimately what Donald Trump was trying to do here, I would say that I support that. I wouldn't say that I support Elon Musk doing it, because Elon Musk has no business auditing government because he's not an auditor, especially not an auditor who has with a history of already knowing how to audit governmental expenditures. And you're like, well, what's the conservatives be like, what's the problem? I don't see the problem. Musk is trying to do whatever Trump wants him to do. No, again, what Trump wants him to do is something completely different than what they're claiming they're going to do. But let's roll reverse. Let's say Joe Biden was supposed to do something, wanted to do something that he claimed was going to help this country, and it was going to require an audit. And let's say he hired Bill Gates to do it. Would conservatives think that was okay? Would conservatives think that Bill Gates was somebody who could be trusted to effectively audit the nation's expenses? I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't believe it either, because he's in computers. He's a computers guy. He's not somebody who knows how to go into and audit of government accounts. He's not the right person for the job, and neither is Elon Musk. which is why we are all standing up in opposition to what they're claiming that they're doing. Because even if they were 100% above board, legitimately, simply just trying to cut fraud, waste, and abuse, Musk is not the person to do it. But again, that's not what they're doing. What they're doing is building enemies lists and making it and using that to further their power in trying to fool the American public into thinking something that is not happening. Because again, I have no reason to believe anything that they're saying at this point. Why would I believe somebody who has no problem giving a Nazi salute in the middle of a Republican event or a Donald Trump event or whatever? I don't trust Nazis as far as I can throw them. And with my knees, I probably shouldn't be throwing anybody. Anyway, what do you think? Agree, disagree? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and unless you're a Nazi, have a good day.